New from Vinegar Syndrome on 4K and one of their fancy releases is the Tenant with one of those little window door boxes that is unnecessary, but it's really kind of cool. We are thrown into this world of our main character, played by Roman Polanski, who plays Tchaikovsky, a man who's looking for a place to stay in Paris. He stumbles across a room that kind of ticks all the boxes for him. And as he tries to get the tenancy, he's almost dissuaded from taking it from the landlord. The person is telling him he's maybe not the right guy for this. He probably wouldn't fit in with the culture in the building, really trying to put him off, which just makes Tchaikovsky even more adamant that he wants this place. And as he gets into the room, sees it, finds out everything about it, he discovers that the previous tenant committed suicide, jumping from the window into the hard cobbled street below.
The previous tenant threw herself out of the window.
And this is a kind of captivating thought. As he moves in and discovers remnants of her past life, he starts to dig into things, talking to people in their building, searching out to where she is in the hospital, because she didn't die immediately. She is severely injured and in hospital. He goes to visit her, where he stumbles across Stella, played by Isabelle Adjani, who is utterly fantastic in this film. She was a complete revelation all the way through it. And as Tchaikovsky and Stella kind of somewhat bond together, we kind of see Tchaikovsky slip into a world of paranoid delusions. Or is it?
Why don't you take your tie off? You look like you're choking to death.
He starts to feel that he is being turned into the previous occupant. He's been forced to live the way she lived, to do the things that she did. And it becomes such a twisting and unsettling movie where you're never quite sure what's reality and what's not. I really enjoyed this one. This was one of those films I went into knowing nothing about it and just marvelled at the way it played out. The way this paranoia and twisted perspective of what's going on slowly ekes into the film, like an ever-growing line in the sand, just a little bit further than you're comfortable, and then you kind of go a little bit more further, and before you know it, you're neck deep in trouble and you can't get out. It's kind of following the journey of the main character as he is possibly discovering more and possibly becoming more aware of some of the strangeness that's within this apartment block. I loved The Tenant. It was one of those movies that was just deeply unsettling. You know, it could have a standard conversation or wandering about a room, and it would just focus on something small, something that doesn't matter, something that's just there in the background, and all of a sudden that little worm works its way into your brain, creating something far more terrifying than what it first seemed. This is The Tenant, a film that gets under your skin, twisting and turning and changing your perspective into something more horrific than you ever expected. It's one of those horror movies that works at an almost subconscious level as it starts to infect you. I loved the people within the apartment block, some of the horrific images that you see throughout it. Look, one of the images, for example, that I found truly terrifying is when Tchaikovsky looks out his window down into the courtyard and sees a group of his neighbours accosting another neighbour. And these are all people who are middle-aged or elderly, and to see them kind of in this fervour was just unsettling. It's not an image you would expect to see, but it was one that in this movie has that just, it becomes really kind of unnecessary and disturbing. Even with Polanski as the main character, I didn't find him off-putting at all. There is a kind of blankness to him, a kind of devoid of character almost, but that fits into the movie we're in, where we have this character who doesn't really have much going on. We don't really see much of his work life, his personal life. He almost seems distant from it when there's a party scene where he's got friends over. But again, he's not the focal point there, even though it's his house. He's almost at the edges of this. It's a character that slowly starts off very mild and almost loses that to a blank cipher.
I don't like to get mixed up in this kind of thing.
No, you're a good person. I can see it in your eyes.
I will say that Stella Isabel Adjani's character was absolutely phenomenal. When she comes into the film, it's just like a breath of fresh air. Every time she's on screen, I was captivated. She is wonderful. There is a kind of nuanced performance there where you're, again, never sure why she's doing what she's doing, what's going on, why she's so captivated with Tchaikovsky. I don't want to go into too much more of the movie because it really is surprising where it goes to. An absolutely wonderful finale, which I loved. Terrific film. The Tenant was a real surprise. Taking it as its own thing, just the film, it was really interesting, really disturbing, and is one of those packages which is terrific. And when you watch the film, you kind of understand why we have this kind of packaging going on, which is terrific. I would love to know your thoughts on The Tenant. Did you pick up this release? Had you seen it before? Do you love it, hate it, fall somewhere in the middle? Well, let me know in the comment box below. As always, there is more content up here. You can see more of my stuff. In the description box below are links to Patreon, membership program, and manvfilm.com, always in which you can support. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.